Welcome to the Literary Titan podcast. In every episode, we dive into a book we've just read and share our thoughts, from best-selling authors to rising literary stars. We read it. Now let's talk about it.
Aletheia Volume 1, In the Shadows, is a riveting historical novel with an unusually steady pulse, thoughtful, tense, and alive to the moral unease of its world. Set in the fraught transition from Tiberius to Caligula, it imagines the aftermath of sacred and political upheaval through a story of family, secrecy, vengeance, and survival. At its center are Cassius and Justus, two brothers drawn in opposite directions by temperament and desire, yet bound to the same dangerous inheritance. Around them, author Luigi A. Colli builds a Rome of uneasy loyalties and concealed motives, where governors, soldiers, mystics, and ambitious outsiders move through a landscape thick with prophecy, memory, and threat. What impressed me most was the book's seriousness of atmosphere. He writes as though the texture of Roman life, its rituals, hierarchies, anxieties, and brutal calculations, actually matters. That care gives the novel weight. I felt it especially in the way public power and private grief keep colliding, and in how the story allows consequences to spread outward rather than arrive neatly on cue. Cassius's hunger for vengeance could easily have been rendered in broad strokes, but here it feels costly and corrosive. Justus, by contrast, is compelling precisely because his wish for obscurity has such a human sadness to it. I found that tension between the brother who lunges toward fate and the one who tries to shrink from it deeply affecting. I also admired the book's ideas, even when they pushed the story into darker and more contemplative territory. This is a novel preoccupied with what survives in the shadows of official history, with the lives and motives history flattens or forgets. Its speculative reach, especially around Pontius Pilate and the dangerous secret that drives the plot, gives the book an arresting intellectual charge. Yet what stayed with me wasn't simply the intrigue. It was the sense that truth in this world is never cleanly redemptive. The presence of figures like Caeso and Hector enriches that feeling, because they carry old loyalties and old scars into a drama that is never merely political. I was especially drawn to the subtle emergence of female power in a setting built to deny it. That thread gives the novel a welcome sharpness and keeps it from settling into familiar masculine patterns of empire and revenge. What I found especially intriguing is that Aletheia Volume 1 doesn't merely borrow the atmosphere of Ben-Hur, but imagines itself as a continuation of that world through a new literary sensibility. The author isn't trying to mimic Lew Wallace's distinctly Victorian voice or the overtly religious cast of his novel. Instead, he seems to ask where that story might lead if revisited by a modern historical novelist more drawn to ambiguity, political tension, and the hidden costs of empire. That gives the book an interesting double life. It stands on its own as a Roman tale of secrecy and survival, while also inviting readers to consider it as a thoughtful and imaginative answer to the question of what might have come next after Ben-Hur. Aletheia Volume 1, In the Shadows, is rich, absorbing, and more emotionally layered than many historical thrillers dare to be. It asks large questions without losing hold of individual lives, and it manages to feel both well-researched and imaginatively alive. Not every passage moves at the same speed, but even the slower stretches carry purpose, and the cumulative effect is strong. I'd recommend it to readers who enjoy historical fiction with real political intelligence, moral complexity, and a touch of philosophical mystery. It's a book for those who like their ancient worlds not polished into legend, but haunted by doubt, consequence, and the stubborn ache of being human.
Thanks for joining us on the Literary Titan podcast. If today's review sparked your interest, be sure to pick up a copy of the book and experience it for yourself. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a rating, or share it with a fellow book lover. Until next time, keep reading. not just to escape, but to grow.